Your signature story is the most profitable and impactful piece in your content marketing funnel. So if you're wanting to make more profit, have more impact than you'll ever have, then you're going to want to stick around to the end of this video. When we're using stories in business or when we're telling stories for conversions, we're not just trying to tell a story to entertain and wow the crowd. Yes, that's great. But if we're really here to make more impact and put our offering in the hands of those we want to serve, then we need to understand that telling our story is essentially transferring a belief. The purpose of you telling the story is to transfer an idea or your aha moment and allow your audience to believe in something that's going to allow them to know, like, and trust you. And two goals with telling this story is it's going to allow people to associate you as the expert that can guide them, but also demonstrating how your offering or what you do is the right fit for them in order to get to the next step and where they want to go. So, my one big belief is I need people to believe that storytelling, which is my offering, is the most profound, impactful, and profitable skill they need to learn and apply in their own life and business that's going to allow them to have more influence, have the income, and ultimately have the impact that they want to have. And by going through this process that I'm going to show you, it's essentially a process of remembering, reviewing, and reflecting all the memorable moments that make up your life and allowing you to extract the meaning and the value and then sharing that in a way that gets people captivated, gets people educated on who you are as a person, as an expert, but also allow people to feel you and see you as an authentic human being. And I've gotten to the point now where I've experimented with a bunch of stories. I've told them on various podcasts, on stages, in my own workshops and events. And I now have a handful of personal stories, but also stories focused on more business that I can now use dynamically depending on which audience I'm speaking to or what kind of event or what kind of situation I'm in. Right? And this is the power of going through this process because ultimately you don't want to just have one signature story that you have to constantly depend on, but you want to have a handful of signature stories that you can tell in various contexts, various formats, various situations, right? At the dinner table or at a keynote or at a conference. Regardless, the more stories that you experiment with and the more stories that you craft, the better position you're going to be when talking and sharing more about your message and what you do. So, with every signature story, it always starts with a moment, a memorable moment in your life, a specific time in your life that you experienced something that led to you going through a challenge or a conflict, external or internal, that you overcame that led to a profound impact on your life, that led to you transforming into the person that you are today, that also led you to pursuing your calling or the mission that you're on in what you're offering in your business, right? So, going back to the one big domino, I really need you to think clearly about what do you need your audience to believe about your offering or your industry in order for them to get closer into believing that what you do and what you offer is the ideal decision that they can make. Okay. Or what is the one big belief that you need to convey in your audience that may knock down that big objection that is so common in your industry? And I want you to start noting down, maybe list down 2 to 3 experiences in your life that prompted you to come to this belief or realization, right? What was the moment that allowed you to believe that breath work is the most profound transformational modality in health and wellness? Why do you believe that uh, walking barefoot and eating grass fed beef is arguably the most transformational thing you can do for your diet, right? Whatever that is for you, I want you to really start thinking about those moments that led you to believe what you believe about your industry, your niche, or your offering. Okay? Really start brainstorming some moments that come to mind. And once you've got a list of moments, I want you to pick the moment that holds the most intense emotions, such as pain, frustration, fear, doubt, happiness, joy, gratitude, right? What was the moment that moved you on a deep, visceral, emotional level? Because ultimately, the one that holds the most emotion, that is ultimately the thing that we're going to convey through that story. And your audience is going to be able to feel the emotion you felt and relive the moment in your story. And that's going to build that direct connection with people on all other sides of the globe by just listening to your story. Now you've got your one memorable moment. I want you to just start off by describing, like literally write it down, describe what's happening in that moment. And start it in present tense. When you start a story in present tense, it draws us into the moment as if we're experiencing it with you in real time. So instead of saying, I walked down the street, say you were running down the street. If you were in the car and you drove down the highway, say you were driving down the highway at 80 miles per hour with the dog in the back and the window down, right? Start describing and painting the image of that moment prior to the challenge or the conflict that you're about to face. Okay. The more you can paint in the image and the details, the better, but you don't want to do it to the point where it's taken away from the core purpose of that story, which is what was the challenge, right? What was the difficulty or the resistance that you faced in order for you to not get to you achieving your goal? Okay. What was the core challenge that you had to overcome? Usually an internal conflict that you had to overcome, a part of yourself that stopped you from getting to where you wanted to get to. Okay. So again, the second question you want to ask is, why was this moment so challenging for you? And some additional prompts is, what did you have to win or lose? What mattered to you in that moment and why? Right? Why was it so important for you to experience this moment and also experience this challenge at hand? Okay. And then the third thing is, after you overcoming this challenge, how did you see the world differently? How did it change your beliefs or change the way you viewed the world? Okay. What was the realization? And this is one of the most important parts of any story is you want to be able to close that loop in the audience's mind, because every time you open your mouth or you go to tell a story, an invisible timer starts going off in their mind. And along with that is the question of, why am I listening to this person? Why is this important for me to sit here and use my valuable time and attention to listen to this story? Okay. So for you to close that gap, I want you to literally like say it at the end of your story is this line. The reason I'm telling you this story is dot 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 dot. And when you literally give them the reason as to why this story is so important for you, but also them, they can then walk away and go, oh, that was the lesson that I took away. Oh, this is why that story was so meaningful to Ant, or why it's so important for me to then take on, but also share to their friends, family, and their circle. Okay. So the third question is, how did you see things differently after this moment? Right? What is the reason? What is the main reason that as to why you're telling the story in the first place? Okay. And then once you've got that reason, what is that call to adventure? What is that call to action that you're asking of your audience? Maybe it's do that thing you've been resisting for so long, or maybe it's download this free workbook that's going to allow you to unlock your next level of growth in your business or your life, right? It can either be just a broad call to action, or it could be a call to action that's directly related to something that's going to get them into your world or get them into your funnel. Okay. Now, I say a goal without execution is just an illusion. So if you're generally wanting to start injecting more stories that sell into your own content, then you ultimately just need to practice this process. You need to sit down, put 15, 20 minutes on the timer, and get curious about your story and start jotting down the moments that led you to believe what you believe about your offering and what you do today. Because the more you have these moments to draw from, the more you will be able to craft stories and practice this process. Because again, I really want you to think about this rule, which is 90% of the stories that you come up with will be shit. And I've gone through this process myself. I've had to realize that not every story, not every moment that you write down or document is going to be the thing that you tell on a podcast or tell on a stage or tell at the dinner table. But through this process, you're going to get down to the 10%, which is that golden bit of content or that golden handful of stories that are going to move your audience to get closer to you as a person, as an authority, as an expert, and get closer to converting with you and trusting you to take them where they need to go. Okay. But you have to practice this process. All right. Get curious with your stories. Start reviewing, start reflecting on your memorable moments. Okay. I've got some extra tools and resources that I'll put in the description that's going to help with generating infinite amount of story ideas. It's going to allow you to go through this process more in depth. I'm also going to create a workbook version of this video so you can use this video in hand with the workbook, and it will allow you to actually go through this process in your own time and also craft it in your own time. And I think that's going to be really valuable. I'll leave that in the description. So again, I appreciate this video, you sticking around to the end. And again, my core objective is allow you to understand that telling more stories isn't as difficult or isn't as abstract as you may believe it to be. You know, you don't have to be born a great communicator or a great storyteller in order to be a good one. You just need to know the right techniques, the right processes in order to start practicing, because the best storytellers are born out of practice, not luck. Okay. Hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you in the next one. Drop a comment. Tell me what was most valuable in this video, and I'll see you in the next one.